Hello and welcome back to my channel, A Sip of Abundance with me, Ny'Chel Dior. And today is going to be something I've been considering if I was going to do it or not do it. But I do think it's important because if I have the platform and I want people, especially who look like me, to do and be better in life, then it's only imperative that I share my story. And by no means am I where I want to be in life yet, but I'm getting there, and I think I've figured out what I need to do and how it needs to get done. And I honestly just want to share my story in hopes that it will inspire somebody to do something different, because where you are it's not permanent, and it doesn't have to be what you think it is. And so I want to share my journey. Obviously not go too far in depth about my entire life, but I do want to share some parts that I do think is very, very important. And so with that being said, thank you for tuning in. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and comment, because I do want to build community around this, because it's important. I mean, as women, we go through a lot of different things, but then as a Black woman, I do feel like our voices are not always heard. And so we have so many outlets now to be able to do that. So here we are. All I can do is take a chance, right? The message will be received by somebody. And here's the thing. This is not for me to criticize myself. This is not for me to judge myself. This is not for me to be hard on myself. This is me here in this moment, looking back at my life and thinking, dang, okay, I've been through some things, but those things didn't dictate and determine who I am. Like, my past doesn't dictate who I am as a woman, as a person. So let's get started of how I got here to this point with this channel. Law of assumption, conscious manifesting, friendships, relationships, my son, my parents even. So I'm going to start from the very beginning. Let me say the beginning of where it needs to make sense, how I got here. And what I find is, in these communities, people find the law of attraction, law of assumption, what have you, oftentimes because of no money or relationship failures. One of the two usually happens. And from talking to people, it's one of the two. You fall on hard times and you're just crying out for help. You just need help. But for me, it was a mixture of relationships, finances, and then I was a new mom. So I was at my lowest. And I feel like when you're at your lowest, that's when stuff starts to kind of pick up, because you just crying on whoever you need to cry on, for you to just get some type of answer or guidance. And your higher power, your God self, God, whoever it is you choose to pray to or you acknowledge, they come through every single time. And I still, at the end of the day, believe in God. I'm always going to believe in God, and whoever you believe in, that's okay. It's your prerogative, it's your life, your beliefs. Okay, so how I got to the law of assumption, it's 2022. So back in 2019, actually, is how I got to the law of assumption. But prior to that, I knew manifesting was a thing. I was heavy in the church when I was growing up. And as I got older, I was questioning things. My mom and a lot of my family, they are devout apostolics. If you know anything about them, they are very strict. They are very religious oriented. And I just, for whatever reason, shied away. It wasn't that I didn't believe in God. I just didn't understand what they were teaching, so to speak. And it wasn't that I thought they were wrong. It didn't make sense to me. And because nobody could explain it, I think my logic kicked in and said, there's some fallacy here, and I need this to be explained. Like, I see miracles happen, so there has to be something higher than me going around creating these miracles to happen. But can you explain to me certain things? So as a kid, I grew up, I questioned my parents about everything. That's neither here or there. But I knew about the law of attraction, so to speak, because that's obviously where a lot of people start. And I was like, okay, I can manifest whatever. I manifested this house. Knowing what I know now, I would have done this totally differently. But I'm grateful because I bought my first house at 24. I was about to have my son. people don't typically do that. So for me, that was a huge accomplishment. After graduating college, I worked and I moved out of my mom's house, bought my own house, no help from anybody. I did that on my own, and that was something that I'm very proud of myself about. But I didn't acknowledge that gratefulness up until recently because I thought it was something I had to do. I thought I was supposed to get a job and move out of mom's house, especially with a baby on the way. Like, I had to take care of us. So my son's father and I were having all kinds of crazy issues, and our relationship, if you would call it that, wasn't the best. Like, we were always great friends, but we weren't on the same page when it came to what we wanted in terms of a relationship. And so I am a writer. I've always been a writer. That's how I vent. That's how I decompress. That's therapeutic to me. I am a writer. That's what I do. So I always was journaling what I wanted my life to look like. And at the time, he filled the pages of my journal. But this was me thinking about what I wanted versus what I needed and how I wanted to feel. At that time, I didn't realize those two components would be important. So I mean, I'm journaling that him and I are going to have this amazing relationship. We're going to be this big old happy family, all of this stuff, what have you. And in the manifesting world, they call that scripting. And that's what I was doing. And I still to this day do that, but I do it differently now. And because I had been already familiar with, I guess, basic manifesting techniques, I just figured, okay, I'm gonna write it once and done, and it's gonna come true. Because for me, I grew up thinking if I write it down, it'll come true, and that's always been true for me. So I do that. Our relationship that was pretty much non-existent ended, but the way it ended, to me at this point, I can laugh about, because I got what I wanted, but it wasn't in the way that I have wanted it. And because I wasn't specific, they say be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. I ended up getting everything that I journaled about, and it came at a point where I was done. I had already physically, like mentally, I left that situation with him a year prior to anything happening. And after I had my son, I was depressed. So a lot of that fed into it, like postpartum, and then relationship issues, financial issues. Like, I had a lot going on. So I was in my funk, I'll say. I was journaling every now and then. Like, I just wanted better for my life. I needed more. I wanted more. I wasn't fulfilled in any type of way. I didn't feel like I was supposed to be getting up, going to a psych hospital to work every day. And then I had issues with my father at the time. And prior to having my son, I was, trigger warning, I was ready to, I considered taking my own life while I was pregnant with my son. And I might get a little emotional, because that's something that I always thought that I didn't have in me. Like, I didn't think that was something I would ever think about. And I don't know if it was the pregnancy hormones or what, but at the time, that's how I felt. And I didn't feel like anybody supported me or anybody cared. And I did really feel alone. And so after I had the baby, it didn't get any better. It got a little bit worse. And I was at my breaking point. And then I had some issues with my father. And it's just like, dang, kick me while I'm down, why don't you? And it was from there, it was like the volcano just had to erupt. And I went into the deepest depression of my entire life. And my son was only about 1 or 2 at the time. And that was scary, because I'm a new mom. I live on my own. His dad and I don't get along. And me and my father don't really get along. And my mom was a workaholic, and she was in school. So she wasn't aware that I had these issues going on. And me being the person I am, I wasn't about to pester her with my emotional breakdown. So I was just, nobody really knew that I was going through these things. And so it got to a point where I was frustrated, and I was just done. And I remember I broke down in my living room, and I just was like, Lord, if you were there, show me something. I just need something, because I can't do this. I'm stressed out. I'm tired. I'm just over it. I'm broke at the time. I am just angry, but I was angry at everything and everybody based off of things that were happening to me. So fast forward, After I figured out my therapy stuff about my dad, and I started coming into what forgiveness is, and I started working through those things, and it took time, and it wasn't something that I was able to just get over. Like, you just didn't get over it. And then I started uncovering other things about myself that I'm like, dang, all right, I got some deep rooted shit going on. Okay, all right, keep it coming, because I need to deal with them so that I can move forward. Because my thing is, I didn't want my son to be raised the way I was raised. My mom was there, but emotionally, I think she could have done better. But she's not an overly emotional person. So I was expecting something from somebody who wasn't. I don't even think she's capable of giving what I had needed. I am super emotional. I need certain things, but I don't think she was aware of that. And I don't blame her for that. She's human at the end of the day. Like, I used to be mad about it, but I'm not mad anymore. Everybody's human. You have to just adapt. And this is when we're paying attention and we're learning and we're just cognizant of how each other learn and how we operate. And my mom just didn't know. And that's okay. I'm not angry at her. And even with my dad, I was mad at him for all of the wrong reasons. And it's just like, he's human before he's your father. My mom, she's human before she's my mom. So it was like, you have to work through those things and forgive people because they just didn't know. And it's not to excuse bad behavior. It's just saying forgiveness so you can move forward. Forgiveness is not condoning what someone did to you. It's you acknowledging, accepting a thing that happened or a situation that happened to you, and you putting it past yours. Like, you're letting the emotional release go. Like, you have to let the emotional side go. That's what forgiveness is, releasing those emotions that hold you down. And I couldn't do anything until I forgave myself and my parents, my son's father, and every other relationship I had been in. And it takes time. I mean, I'm still working through it. Sometimes I have my moments where I'm like, fuck this, but I bring myself back up and I'm like, okay, what can I do to get past this? How can I move through this? And at the time, my son was 2. This is when I figured out something going on with me for why certain experiences keep happening. And I wasn't including my parents. I was thinking about, like, relationships, because I was just like, why do I keep feeling or getting in situations where I'm not the only one, or that person can't commit to me? And I just clearly had to recognize, okay, fine, abandonment issues, fine, daddy issues, fine, mommy issues, whatever. But those are beliefs that I was holding on for so long, and guess what? They have to be projected outward. So my experience showed me to be second nature. I wasn't anybody's priority. I was always second nature due to beliefs that I had come to learn about myself. And that's how I get into the law of assumption, but I'll explain that pivot in a little bit. But so I'm working with the law of attraction, and the biggest thing that I wanted was for my son's father to marry me, because I feel like I never wanted a child out of wedlock. And so when I did that, I felt guilt about that. There was a lot of things that I felt as a woman bad about, but it was just like, okay, we here now. But I also, in good faith, could not marry that man, knowing he genuinely didn't love me the way I wanted him to. I didn't want you to marry me because we have this baby. I want you to marry me because you genuinely want to be with me. And he came up with all these different reasons for why he couldn't, or whatever. Okay, fine. But I still was doing my little journaling, because I just, and somewhere in me, I had faith that was going to happen. One thing I learned about women, this is what we do, some of us. We mentally leave a relationship well before our physical body goes. We may stay in a position because of whatever reason. And for me, at the time, it was for financial security, because he did give me that. And it was a leverage that I needed, but I had to get smart. Okay, because my feelings weren't involved at that time, I played it a little bit smart. I needed him to do certain things for me so that I could truly be done with him, so that I could be okay. Because I did gain some codependency traits dealing with him. Not to mention all the things that he may have said to me over the years about how I was always going to need him and XYZ. And guys, I have on shorts, I promise. But I did believe for a long time that I would need him. Like, nobody would want me. And he put it in my head that, oh, you got a baby, nobody's going to want you with a crazy baby dad. Like, he said all of these crazy things to me. And for a long time, I believed him. But I think one day, at some point, I was like, enough is enough. tired of this because I'm not happy, and you're not going to keep using and abusing me for your own personal gain, and I get nothing out of it other than, okay, fine, whoop-de-doo, you pay the bills in the house. I mean, it's my house, but he was paying my bills. And at the time, that's all I had, because I was a single mom, so to speak, trying to figure out this newborn baby, work, and still pay the bills in my house. I was only 24. I was trying to figure it out. And he was way better at money than me, so he leveraged that. And it is what it is. At this point, I can laugh about it because I feel like I did my best that I could at the time. And I'm no longer mad at myself about it. But I had to forgive myself in that as well, because I did allow him to treat me in a way that wasn't conducive to what I really wanted. But we go through these things. It's a learning lesson. Like, we just have to figure things out, and nobody tells you how to deal with relationships. Nobody can tell you. You have to figure it out. And so I mentally left, and after about, I might say 9-10 months, I was dating. Even though him and I were still kind of cordial, we were dealing with each other, I was doing me, because I had mentally left him. Like, I didn't have any emotional attachment to him at all. At like that last year, him and I, before I really was like, yo, I'm done. I was going on dates. I was meeting people. I was having a good time. I was minding my business. And I'm gonna tell y'all when the manifestation came true. And it's like, be careful what you ask for. But I wasn't specific. That's number one. Now I'm going to talk about being specific, because, oh my God, if you're not, you're gonna screw yourself. But I can laugh about it now. I told you, the very one thing that I wanted from this man prior to me being all over him, like I was done with him, I wanted him to marry me. And so for a long time, in the past few years, I had dealt with him like for 5 years. I had wrote all the time that we're going to get married, we're going to live this place, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And I'll never forget, I was supposed to be on my way to work this day, and he, for whatever reason, said, we need to talk. And I'm like, about what? And we just need to talk. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Not even 2 minutes later, he's knocking on my door, open the door. And I'm like, so that means you were outside the entire time, because it takes you at least 15 minutes to get here. So whatever, we're talking, and he's like, tell me what I got to do. I'll marry you right now. What'll make you stop all of this? And I'm like, what? Please, like, sir, where was this a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago when the baby was born? What are we doing? And at that point, it was like, you look pathetic. And I felt that's where I started to reclaim my power as a person, because I didn't feel like I at that point needed him. And I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of knowing that there was someone else occupying my space and my time at the time, even though it wasn't the right thing to do the way I did it, because I wasn't really over him, if I should say, like emotionally. Like, I mentally left him alone, but I was hurt. And it was kind of one of those things where the only way to get over a person is to get under somebody new. Don't do that. Because then that brings other issues, and I'll get into that too. But that's what essentially happened. I met someone else who was treating me the way I felt I should have been treated. Showing up, calling, texting, making sure I was just okay. Genuinely wanted to be around me, and it didn't seem like I just want you for sex. Like, I genuinely want to be in your energy field or whatever. And he goes, my son's father, he says, well, just tell me if you're talking to someone new. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm never going to give you that satisfaction, because that makes this easier for you to say, okay, well, F you. Something in me did want him to hurt. I did. And I think that if I would have told him that there was someone else, it would have been easy for him to bypass in his mind. Him not knowing that I had someone new or was talking to somebody, regardless. Him not knowing that was eating him alive, because for him, it would have been so much easier to just leave me alone. But it hurt him to know that I was walking away, because he would always tell me, you have everything to lose leaving me alone. And he would tell me these things. And for so long, guys, I believed it. And I just let him in my head. And I'm thinking, this is my kid's father. I should probably try to work it out. Because, again, I didn't want to be a single mom. I didn't want to be an unwed mother, and I had already had this baby. So like, I'm just like, okay, how can we work it out? That's what I was thinking for a long time. But at some point I was like, it's just going to be stepdaddy season, because this is not it, you know? And I couldn't do it. And when he sat in my living room and he was down on his knees pleading to me, what do I have to do? I'll tell the girl to move out my house, you and I will be together, or I can just move into your house and we'll just be a happy family. And I'm like, you've lost that opportunity. I'm sorry, you lost that, because I've given you everything I thought you wanted and needed, and it still wasn't enough for you. So since it wasn't enough, I have to be more than enough for myself to walk away from this, because I'm not happy, and I'm not going to continue to compromise who I am for you. Yes, we may share a child together. Yes, this does hurt. But when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you do something about it. And I realized then I wasn't angry. Yes, I was hurt. I didn't scream, I didn't yell, I didn't fuss, I didn't punch, I didn't do anything. It was just, I can't do this anymore. Can you leave? I was calm. I just wanted him to go. I didn't want anything from him. I didn't, just leave me alone. Please, just leave me alone. And then the calls were coming, the texts were coming. Please stop coming to my house. And let me tell you how crazy this motherfucker is, right? So him and I, because we had been dealing for so long, we had keys to each other's house. And this is when I realized he a little off. He came over that day. Before he came all the way in, he jiggled the doorknob to my front door. And he says, you changed the locks. And I'm thinking, how do you know that? Because what I did was I specifically bought the same color and same brand that I originally had, but it was just a different locks. I didn't want him to have keys to my house. You're not just going to come in whenever you feel like it. And so when he did that, I was like, oh yeah, no, you gotta go, because that means you're paying way too much attention to what I have going on. You know too much. Who looks at a doorknob and can say you changed the doorknob? What? Like, yo, I was mind freaking blown. Okay, moving forward. And it was like, I think for me, it solidified, yeah, you gotta go. It's not working for me. I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm good. And I realized, after having some time to think, I compromised a lot of myself and who I thought I was to be what he wanted me to be. And we do it sometimes. We lose weight or we gain weight. We change our hair. We don't change our hair. We do all of these things trying to be appealing to the person that we think that we're supposed to be with or we want. And then it turns out that they still really don't want us the way we want them to want us. So it's like, well, what was it all for? We all do it to some degree. But it's when you start to acknowledge, okay, what am I really doing this for? And when I realized certain things I was doing in my life were because of him and not because of truly who I am and what I was like, oh yeah, I can't do this. I cannot continue to minimize who I am to satisfy you, and you're not even giving me what I want in return. No. And I'm not saying you should do anything to make somebody do something for you, but at least be some type of give or take. And it wasn't that. It was very one-sided. It was like, well, you're too skinny, gain weight. And I mean, look, I had a baby, I gained the weight, okay, fine. But I'm like, damn, wait a minute, are you trying to make me fat so don't nobody else want me? And I figured out he like big bitches because this self-esteem thing. I'm learning some guys genuinely deal with women with low self-esteem, and women, we have to pull it together. We have to start loving on ourselves so we don't have to feel that way. This is why I'm having this platform, because I did that, and so many women do that. Why do we do that? We don't know, but we want to be loved so bad we're willing to do anything. We're willing to do anything, and it does, and sometimes include compromising who we are and what we want to do with our lives to make someone else happy and still get nothing out of it. We're not doing this anymore. And I found the way to be who you are and still get the person that you want. And I'm going to speak so heavily on that because I figured it out. And it is a process, especially when you're dealing with people you have a past with. Okay? But I'm not there yet. So how I got into the law of attraction, I figured, everybody with this law of attraction community, it's all the same thing. Law of assumption, law of attraction, law of one. It all goes together. But there is a separation simply due to who is teaching it or who's talking about it. The law of attraction community says, oh, you can't manifest while you're angry, or you got to be high vibe. All these retarded ass rules. I'm sorry, I shouldn't use that word. All these ridiculous rules for how to manifest. But here's the thing. I don't know if you know, but we've been manifesting since forever. We all do it consciously, unconsciously. It doesn't matter. You're doing it. Thoughts become thoughts that we think every day do become reality. Everything has to start with a thought. Everything. And I will go into that another time because we can be here all day. But your thoughts do create your negative and the positive. There is no separation. But when you want particular things in life that go against what you're used to, you're going to have to put in some work. And that's where it gets a little bit challenging, because hurt is kind of comfortable because that's sometimes all we know. Frustration is sometimes all we know. Do you ever just meet people who are always irritated? It's comfortable. Even though it sucks and they're irritated, but because they're irritated, it's comfortable. It's all they know. It's like happiness can't exist for me because this is too good to be true. Why do we do this? Why do we sabotage ourselves? And we reduce ourselves to such little, like, pieces of nothing, right? So I'm at a point now where I figured out, okay, there has to be another way. And then I got into this relationship with somebody else. And this is, hindsight is 2020, right? I met this person and I said, we're going to be together. Like, I don't know. I had this inclination that it just had to be. He was cool. I was cool. We was vibing. We was having a good time. But the more time we started to spend together, I was like, I really like this person. And let me tell y'all, he came in perfect. Dude came in trying to date me, trying to take me out, just spending time. He genuinely wanted to just be around. And then I'm going to tell you how I fucked it up. Almost, I'll say. Because I'm going to tell you how to flip it. So don't make the mistakes I did. And I tell people, check what you're thinking. Check what you're thinking. And this all came full cycle to me when a particular scenario that I made up in my head came true. I mean, it was too specific for this to be some freaking coincidence. There's no way that this particular thing happened the way it happened, and this was just a coincidence. And this is when I realized, if I can create this BS, then I can create the better in my life. But how? We have been so programmed to think negatively about everything, including ourselves. And I'm going to challenge you. Have you ever been told that you should love yourself? Guarantee the answer is no, because nobody tells us we're supposed to love ourselves. Our parents tell us they love us. Family tell us they love us. We tell other people that we love them. But have you ever genuinely loved yourself? And I don't mean from an egotistical standpoint. I don't mean, I only love myself when I look good. No, I mean genuinely who you are at your core. No makeup, no clothes, pure you. Do you genuinely love yourself? And most people cannot answer yes to that. It takes work to love yourself, especially if you're just figuring it out. Nobody told me that I was supposed to love myself. And so when I was doing something, I was like, no, I never thought of that. And then I did I was in a group on Facebook and they were talking about self-concept. And I'm like, what? And then I thought about it. I beat myself up. Don't get me wrong. I have done amazing things in my life. I feel like I could be doing more. I could be doing better. And things are only getting better for me. But I don't stop and say, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself, or just celebrate my wins. I'm always looking, okay, I did this. Okay, what's the next one? I don't even give myself a time to just breathe and enjoy the moment. I'm always constantly trying to prove to myself and others that I'm worthy of something, but I never felt it for myself. And so one day, the activity was to just start affirming that I am worthy. 3 words, seems simple, But baby, go in the mirror right now, look yourself in the eye and tell yourself I'm worthy and I love myself, and you do that, and I guarantee the tears will fall, because you don't feel it, because you're going to sit there and wonder, why don't I really feel this way? If you understand what worth and love are, the tears that fell from my eyes that night, I collapsed on my bathroom floor, because in that moment I was mad at myself because I didn't know that I needed to feel this way about myself. And I'm getting emotional now because the transformation this has been. This all happened in 2019. It's 2022. Like, I'm just thankful for discernment and guidance and patience with myself. But that night, and I believe it was in like November of 2019, and I'm looking in my mirror, and at first I'm like, okay, this is easy. Like, I am worthy. And I'm like, no, because at first I wasn't looking myself in the eye. I started to look myself in the eye, and I took it a lot more seriously, and the tears just fell. And I became very upset with myself. And I started beating myself up for not loving myself. And that was the wrong thing to do in that moment. But that's when I realized I got some work to do. So then I'm like, okay, the shadow self needs some addressing. I've been through therapy. I don't mind going to therapy. I advocate for therapy. If you can't figure it out, because sometimes you do just need somebody to talk to, somebody to offer you a different perspective, because we don't always have it all figured out. I don't have all of the answers, and if I don't feel like I have all the answers, I'm going to find it. And if that means sitting on somebody's couch or doing a virtual therapy session, that's what I'm going to do, because I don't want to feel guilt and remorse about anything. And so that particular night, after like 40 minutes, I picked myself up. I have to write because I'm frustrated. And then that's when the forgiveness had to come in. And so I started doing the Ho'oponopono prayer. That's, I'm sorry, I forgive you, I love you, thank you. That sent me into a whirlwind of freaking emotion, because now I'm like, oh my God. Like, when I tell you that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, forgiveness, worthiness, and love, when you don't know that you're supposed to have those things in yourself, it hurts to sit there and say them and feel like it's not true. Because at that time, that's not how I felt. At that time, I thought I had it going on. I'm 25. I think at the time I was 25. Got my own house. I ain't renting. I bought a house. I got a car. I got my baby. I'm good. Got degrees. I got a decent job. I'm thinking I got it going on. All that surface level shit truly means nothing if you don't feel any type of goodness within yourself. I done decided to open a business. Okay, fine. What's the next thing on my list? Never. I'm so proud of you. You did it. I had to do it. And that was my mindset. It had to get done. It wasn't oh, I'm doing this because this is my purpose in life. I'm going to live out my dreams. Ooh, let me clap it up. It was, I had to do these things. For who? For what? Now, am I doing things because I want to and it would make me happy, or am I doing it to prove something to somebody else? And I had to really sit down with myself and ask myself these questions. And this shit is a hurt piece, because you start unveiling things about yourself, and then you start to learn the me versus the I. The I is your God self. Because, God says that we are in his image, right? So your God self is that I. Who are you at your core? Not what society, your parents, your friends, school, TV, media. Not the me is everything that you've taken as a projection and you put onto yourself, right? And so we take all of that in and we wear this shit. We wear it. Consciously and unconsciously, we wear it. We are overly mindful of what other people think about us. We're always constantly worrying if somebody's judging us. That I self would not give a flying fuck, because you are comfortable with who you are at your core. And I'm still learning who I am. I'm 2-3 years in, and I'm still finding things about myself that I'm like, okay, I like this version of her because the woman I am today is not the woman I was 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. There's certain things that I just would not stand for, that I allowed myself to go through because I just didn't know my worth. And then there's another egotistical thing about people knowing their worth. Your worth is not just saying, I know my worth. Because here's the thing. Okay, you know your worth, right? And it's, people always put it in conjunction to like dating. Oh, well, I need a man that's got 6 figures, that got this, and he gonna treat me like this. But here's my thing. You want all of those things from a person, but what are you doing for yourself? Because there's no way on God's green earth that you can sit here and have the audacity, the gall, to think that if you're not doing these things and more for yourself, that somebody else should come in and sweep you off your feet and do it for you. If you're not treating yourself well, why should the next person? If you knew your worth, you would treat you well. And treating you well is more than surface level. It's about what are you saying to yourself on a daily basis about yourself. And I bet you people are not thinking about it like that. You want somebody to come and take you out on a date all the time and pay for everything, but you don't even date yourself. And that's very surface level, but for the sake of conversation. So why should they come in? You want somebody that got their own place, their own car, but you still live with your mama. Girl, bye. And it goes for the guys too. Don't get me wrong. This is everybody. It's not just men versus women. This is everybody. How dare you have the audacity to think that somebody should come into your life and do more for you than you do for yourself? That's knowing your worth, because you won't put a stamp on that. So for me, if I want particular things in life, I'm thinking about, if I want somebody to compliment me or genuinely pay me attention, then I need to do those things for myself. What are the conversations that I'm having with myself inwardly? And that's where I have to check myself. Am I being overly harsh on myself? Well, fine, I didn't meet that deadline, or I didn't start this business. Whatever craziness that you come up with in your mind. How dare you think that somebody else is supposed to come pick you up and you don't pick yourself up? What? But guess what? I was there. So I get this. So I'm speaking from experience, not out just like, I'm not pulling this out of a hat. Knowing your worth is truly understanding who you are, what you want, and how do you treat yourself. That is the most I swear to God, that is one of the most important things that we need to learn as a collective. How do we treat ourselves? Because if you don't treat yourself this way, energetically, nobody else will. Are you respecting yourself? And you can only define what respect looks like for you. Because my version of respect may not be the same as yours, and that's okay. Because guess what? Whatever you say is true. You don't get no fight out of me. But in that, how are you operating on your own core level, or like just your energy as a whole? How are you operating? Those are the questions you need to ask yourself. So until you start complimenting yourself, dapping up yourself, praising yourself, loving on yourself, and loving on yourself is more than, oh, let me go get my hair and my nails done, let me go get my toes done and buy myself some roses. Genuinely loving yourself is those conversations, knowing your worth. What are you saying to yourself about yourself? If people do manage to compliment you, oh girl, no, I need my hair done. Oh, let me fix this. Just take the compliment. We're not open to receive anything. And I was one of those people. This guy would tell me, oh my God, you look so beautiful. And I would just find a reason to say something negative. We just find reasons. Because anything other than negative seems too good to be true. Or what do you want? Or you side-eyeing them as if there's some type of ulterior motive, when they can just genuinely be paying you a compliment and want nothing from you. Why do we do that? So my journey into the law of assumption came because I felt like, damn, here we go again. Same bull crap. But for me, it made sense because I was like, okay, I feel like I see a pattern. One thing about me is I start to be very observant with myself, and I noticed a pattern within myself. And then I had to make this analogy, and it's just random numbers. I said, if you date 10 people and 8 of them ended the same way, what's the common denominator here? And this is basic math, babes. If in every situation you have been in ended in a particular way, All of those people are different, but the remaining constant is you. So what is it about you that is causing these experiences? And so then that's when I had the damn light bulb go off. It was like, ting. Oh, shit. And it's not to say that something's wrong with you. It's not to say that. Because I'm not going to say it's wrong. What I'm going to say is it's unconscious. It comes from society. It comes from generations. It comes from our parents, our friends, family. And this stuff goes back before we were even thought about. It's nothing that you did. But unfortunately, because we didn't know any better, you just have to experience these things. But I'm here to tell you that you can change this. You have the gall to change this. But is it work? Yes. I'm not even going to sit here and BS you. I still have moments where I'm like, I'm ready to fight, but I can't, because that's me giving energy to the version of myself that I'm trying to and working so hard to let go of, because that is not who I identify as. Because don't get me wrong, she be trying to come out and I be like, girl, sit down, because you got to chill. And it becomes an internal battle, because it don't have to be that. We self-sabotage a lot. We self-sabotage jobs, relationships, friendships, because we always side-eye anything that is going against what we're used to. And unfortunately, we are used to anything that hurts us. We're used to that. And it sucks to say that, but that's some generational bullshit that we ain't asked for. But it can be broken. It can be changed. But we as a collective need to work together to do this. And it does start at the end of the day with you. Nothing is going to change until you change. So after I've done all of this research and I'm trying to figure out because it always starts with, how do I make a man love me? And I'm like, oh my God. And I can laugh at myself now, because girl, like, what were you thinking? My journey to loving a man came into a journey full stop for me loving me. And I'll laugh to this day and tell him, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be the woman I am. I needed to go through certain things so I can work on me. And I don't know. And I think if it would have been him or somebody else, at some point this lesson was going to come to me. It didn't matter. It was inevitable. Because I think God got higher plans for me. And so it was like, girl, I tried to sit you down the first time and you wasn't listening. We need you to listen. So let me go ahead and bring this fine man in here. Let me teach you something. And it was those moments. Obviously, in those moments, I couldn't sit here and say, thank you for this lesson. Unfortunately, he was only a vessel for the lesson that I needed. Does it suck? Yes. Does it hurt? Yes. But I have the awareness to know that it was because of me that I need to do some shifting. I cannot continue to blame every person that comes in my life for the bad shit that happens to me. What is it about me that I am causing these experiences? And when you start diving deep into who and what you are and what you've been through, you start to unpack the shit. I mean, you get to unpack, and I mean, oh my God, I got journals on top of journals on top of journals. And what I used to say was, find your blocks, find your triggers. No, at this point, what I'm on is, because I think you'll spend a lifetime trying to figure out where your blocks are. I think it's just shifting your thoughts in general, not sitting here trying to uncover every single block. Now, if it comes up, fine, deal with it. But to sit there and consciously try to figure out what's holding you back, you're going to waste too much time, and it's going to get very frustrating. It was driving me insane trying to figure out, okay, all right, I've had this experience. Why do people leave? Or why do people feel like they have to have multiple? Or why am I always not first best? Or whatever the fuck else I was coming up with. And I realized, okay, what was I saying growing up? Okay, oh shoot, boom. Okay, there's a pattern. Okay, what did I feel about my brother and my mom's relationship? Oh shit, okay, there's a pattern. Because those patterns manifested into my relationships, my friendships, intimate relationships. When I say intimate, I mean friendships and relationships. And it started to make sense, and I was starting to able to see the pattern, because everything's a fucking pattern. And once I was able to uncover those specific patterns, it started getting easier to break down these walls for myself. I had my guard up. I'm naturally defensive. Why? I'm defensive because I don't want nobody to hurt me. So it comes off overly masculine because I'm trying to defend myself from you hurting me, when that's probably not the person's true intentions. But because of what I think, feel, and believe, it has to essentially become true. I end up getting hurt because I'm trying so hard to avoid getting hurt. I end up getting hurt. And here's the say, it's not to say being naive, but the shift comes when you realize it's your thoughts that's causing these experiences. And unfortunately, the experiences that you've had that's caused memories in your body, those memories trigger those thoughts and those beliefs that you hold that causes your emotions. And all of those combined create these physical experiences that we go through. And we're sitting here like, damn, again. And you, of course, in the moment, you're not laughing. I wasn't laughing a year or two ago. 3 years ago, I wasn't laughing. But now I can sit here and say, oh, okay, I get it. And the only time I didn't have these types of issues with people I genuinely didn't have an attraction to or didn't care whether they stayed or went. But anybody that I genuinely wanted, I had issues with. Even friendships. It was always somebody over me because I had some belief that people put people before me. And guess what? Life had to show me that. But now I'm like, whoa. I have to become a priority to myself. And I was minimizing myself to make other people happy. And that's how I ended up in that situation with my son's father. And I found myself doing the same thing in a new relationship. And I'm like, okay, I see the problem. Stop minimizing yourself. Go live your life. Become that more confident person that you are. Become that successful woman that you are. Walk in it, live in it, breathe in it, talk in it. Do that. And things start to shift. And I was like, oh my God, where was this lesson 10 years ago? Where was this lesson 10 years ago? But maybe I wasn't ready for it 10 years ago. And that's okay. Because here I am now at this new chapter in my life. And I see so many people. It's not even just women. I see people hurting because men can sit here and act like they don't have emotions. If the good Lord ain't want you to cry, baby, you wouldn't produce tears. We all have emotions, and unfortunately, society tells us that men are supposed to carry the weight of the world. They're not. I don't give a damn what nobody says. They need to be catered to in an emotional way too. We all need that. We all need to be nurtured. We all need to be coddled in a sense to where we feel safe. But nobody ever feels safe. Women don't feel safe with men. Men don't feel safe with women. How do we change that? We have to change how we're operating. We have to stop being so naturally defensive, thinking the world is out to get us. Because guess what? Remember, thoughts create. If you're out here thinking, oh, the world is out to get me, unfortunately, that's the experiences that you're going to continue to manifest into your life. And here's the thing. I don't give a damn whether you call it prayer, manifestation, whatever. This is basic science. Like, this is quantum physics. I mean, I've been working on some stuff, quantum entanglement. The shit is crazy. On a scientific level, at the end of the day, energy can't be created nor destroyed. So when you understand that everything is already a possibility, you can change how things are. But you have to be like, strong enough and mentally willed enough to say, this is what I want, this is how it's going to be, and I'm not going to allow myself to choose any other option. There's multiple versions of every single one of us. And the way that you can prove this is look at who you are today versus who you were a year or two ago, 3 years ago, 4 or 5 years. You're not the same person. We all elevate. And then we have some people who be all the way up here, and then for whatever reason there's a decline. Those are different versions of ourselves. There's multiple versions of us. So tap into that version of you who you want to be. But you have to embody that. And that means ultimately changing your thoughts. And not on a conscious level. You have to start the same way you sit there and be a worrywart. Or, for example, and I know so many women that do this. They'll meet a guy and he's super into you. It's fucking obvious. But you're in your mind, he don't really like me. He only want me for this. What if he playing me? What if he did? You done made up all of these stories. And guess what? It come true, right? Because you're going to say, well, no, Ny'Chel, it came true. Yeah, because you sit there and put all of that emotion and energy into that negative ass thought. It has to come true. Nothing is a coincidence. I don't even believe in coincidences. I want to so bad sometimes because I'm like, there's no way that this shit works like this. But when I started putting it into play, I mean, you tested with dumb stuff. You ever be thinking, oh, okay, I want this particular car. Now, all you see is this car. It's not a coincidence. It's because now you've been told your brain, your subconscious mind, to look for this particular thing. And so now that's in your awareness. It's in your awareness because you thought about it. You want that. You created that in your mind, and you have some type of visionary for what that looks like. So now you have to see it. And when I first started this journey, I was like everybody else. That's a crock of bull. What? No, people do what they want. And no, people do what you perceive them to be. They have to fit the bill. And they always say, oh, well, you're the writer of your own story. There's so much truth to this stuff, and we just choose to ignore it because we don't have any tangible proof. But you do. Think about all of the negative stuff that's happened to you in your life. Think about the most recent time that you've had something negative happen to you in your life. What was your thoughts surrounding that negative situation? And you may not have thought it exactly the way it played out, but look at the overall theme. Look at the overall theme. Let's just say you apply for a job and you're so much doubt in your mind. I'm not going to get it. There's other people that's more qualified. You have all of these thoughts, and guess what? Boom, you ain't get the job. Now, what have happened? Imagine if you would have listen, here's the thing. Faith in those thoughts and those beliefs and those emotions all tie in together. What if you would have took that same conviction that you just knew you wasn't going to get that job, and you had that same conviction to say that you was going to get it? I've done it. I bought this house. I did it. I sat there when I graduated college in December 2014. I said, I'm giving myself 2 years. I'm moving out my mom's house. And baby, within 2 years, I moved out of my mom's house. I graduated December 2014. I purchased this house in August 2016. That's not even really 2 years. It was under 2 years. What I'm telling you is when you do things with conviction, when you know in your heart of all hearts that you want to do a thing, it get done, don't it? It's the same thing for those negative thoughts. So check yourself before you wreck yourself. And I'm just being honest. At the end of the day, we have to be diligent about our thoughts. In the same way that you're a worrywart and you're sitting here thinking all of the negative, you have to flip that, and you got to be conscious. And yes, in the beginning, it seems like you're telling yourself a lie. If you don't feel like you're beautiful, baby, you better find one thing that you like about yourself until you can build it up. I don't give a damn what you got to do. Build yourself up, because ain't nobody going to build you up. You have to do that. I don't give a damn what the world says. I'm sorry, social media is so fake, because we don't know when them people take off all that makeup, when they, take off all of the clothes and the designer, we don't know what it is that they're facing when they're at home. Why do you think so many of these celebrities are on drugs, or they have severe mental health issues? It's all a facade. They look happy because the money buys happy. No, it doesn't. That just goes to show you that internal, their concept of success may be all A. But even Beyonce got cheated on. I'm sorry. But what does that tell you about how she thinks about herself in relation to her marriage? Yeah, she's successful. She the queen bee, right? She gonna do that, and she tops charts. Her thought process about her level of success is being proven to us every day. But her marriage has been in shambles. Her record, this latest album, I'm pretty sure she's throwing shots at Jay-Z. I'm pretty certain. Because her thoughts and her feelings about who she is as a woman in relation to that man, Jay-Z is a mogul at the end of the day. And to her, she might feel like somebody may have a one-up, or she may feel like she has a disposable man. I don't know. I'm not her. But I'm telling you, her thoughts are creating, and this is why she's getting the circumstances that she's getting. It's not because Jay-Z wanted to do her dirty. My thing is this. Again, what is it in you that causes these situations, these circumstances? And let me just touch on this whole thing about free will. And I fought this for like months because it didn't make sense to me. But then when I started to really just like ask myself questions and be honest, and I had to think about my current relationship, the man came in correct. I mean, he came in correct. And when that particular instance that happened, the way I thought it, I wrote the shit down, I journaled. I think I even text somebody about it, how I done made up some story in my head, and 3 months later the shit came true. And I'm like, no fucking way. I had to go back to my book. I said, huh? And I'm like, okay, is this what they mean by free will? we appear to have free will to make our own decisions, but people in general operate based off how you perceive them. What is your perception of people, circumstances, situations, life? That's why I said it's not cut and dry. It's not as easy as people think. It's so much deeper than changing your thoughts about like just who you are. But you have to understand and check how you think and feel about marriages. Like if you're scrolling Facebook and you see a wedding, do you get weird feelings or are you genuinely happy about the person? That'll tell you how your true feelings are about what the idea of marriage, or you see people happy, or you see people living their dreams, or you feel like, oh, that's just too good to be true, or like whatever negative thoughts, those are your true feelings. Go address those. You're never going to be happy until you start to address your overall concept of what you think, feel, and believe about the world as a whole. Like you have to kind of like break down everything. How do you truly feel about friendships? Like, do you feel like in your girl friendships or your guy friendships, people are sneaky or they're liars or they can't be trusted? And guess what? You're going to say, oh, well, no, Ny'Chel, well, it happened. You know why? Because that's your perception. And then I give this crazy example. Let's think about your job. Everybody loves Bob, but you can't stand Bob. Why can't you stand Bob? And you might come up with whatever reason. That's cool. But again, this is based off of your perception. Because again, what you say is true. I could absolutely think that Bob is an amazing person. And you like, girl, Bob. Like Bob is, he ain't this, he lazy, he this. That is your perception, because clearly I don't see that from him. And it's not that he doesn't do it in front of me. It's my perception of him and how I choose to internalize his awareness in my being. Like for me, I don't see Bob as being annoying. But for whatever reason, maybe Bob is short and you just have a thing about short guys, that they're just naturally annoying. I don't know. I'm making stuff up. But if that's your perception, then he has to mirror that back to you. This world is truly a mirror. And when I started recognizing that, like I said, we played with this thing. I mean, I played with this. It was so, I was doing little dumb stuff. I wanted to see like a orange emoji. Where the hell you see an orange emoji? And I went to the Chinese store like to get Chinese takeout. And the bag, and this was weeks later, the bag that they sent me, it had a smiley face on it. And I laughed because I was like, is this an orange emoji? I said, oh shit, this is funny. But that just goes to show everything is a mirror. What you think, feel, and believe about the world, yourself, others, has to be true. So I challenge you to check your thoughts. And I don't care how you choose to live your life. I will say start being more cognizant. For me, I chose the path of the law of assumption because assumptions are beliefs at the end of the day. And I had been studying, researching, Neville Goddard, Joseph Murphy, Florence Scovel-Shinn, all of these different thought teachers who teach these things. They figured it out. And guess what? Even though they do it on a metaphysical level, or it seems like esoteric, the CIA knew this. There's legit documents on quantum entanglement and quantum physics that proves the very science of this. Now, I'm no scientist, I'm no mathematician, I'm no physicist. But from the little bit that I can understand, I was like, y'all knew this. They've been knowing this. You don't believe me? Google the CIA documents. They're classified, but they're available to the public. Take some time to just glance over them. They tell you how this works. And it does make you question a lot of the things, but I'm just going to be honest. You have to really unlearn everything you thought you knew. I even have a different appreciation for the Bible. I'm by all means not religious at all. Spiritual, yes, because my relationship with God is not determined by my religion, because I think religion is just a man-made thing that these people just wanted to come in and control people and just do the most. My relationship with the Lord is mine alone, and I don't have to answer to anybody but the Lord for how I choose to live my life. And how I pray is not indicative of, what other people may agree with. And it's okay. And I had to get to the point where I was no longer looking for acceptance from my family, because we tried to please people. We're people pleasers. Some of us were absolute people pleasers. And what I was doing was trying to make everybody happy, but I was the only one suffering. I went to college because my mom said I had to. I didn't want to go to college, but I had to because she said so. Even went down to the religion thing. My mom stopped talking to me for months, but I manifested that back. I said, you know what? No. And with conviction, I said, no, this is my life. You don't have to agree with it, but you, at the very least, you will respect me. We don't have to agree. We don't never have to talk about this. Out of respect for my mom, I will never take tarot cards in her house. I won't wear my crystals to her house, but I'm not going to back down on who or what I believe and what I want to do because of her religion. And I can respect her religion. It's not that I don't believe in God. I just don't care for the religion aspect. I just don't care about none of that. That to me is just too much. I can't deal with that. But when I sit and crack open my Bible, that's my time with God. And I actually listen to the Bible through different thought teachers daily. Neville Goddard utilized the Bible in his teachings, and to me, I'm like, oh, this makes sense to me. I get this. When I asked my parents, they were like, they would give me these answers, and I'm like, that sounds like something you regurgitated from somebody else who got that regurgitated to them. That's not answering my question. And so when I go to pray to God and I see that the things come true that I need, whether I'm manifesting, praying, it's all the same thing. And God said, listen, ask and you shall receive. And baby, when you pray, stop begging. Tell God what it is you want and you need, and you be thankful and you move on because you know that it's done. That is having faith. Do you think about waking up in the morning? That is faith that the Lord going to wake you up the next day. You ain't thinking nothing about that because you trust that it's going to happen. Now, regardless if it does or not, because, I mean, obviously, if it doesn't, you're not going to know. But that's that faith. You have to have that same faith in everything. And I'm learning what it is to be faithful to the Lord when it comes to myself. But I had to build that up in myself. Even in relationships, even with my son, I'm like, I'm not a perfect person. Nobody's perfect, right? But at the same time, I'm going to vow to be the best mother I can. And I had to even ask my son, how can I be the best mommy to you? And he's 5. He gave me a crazy answer that only a 5-year-old would give. But it's that knowing. And your relationship with your ancestors, your spiritual team, God, Allah, Buddha, whoever you choose something to believe in other than yourself. Because we ain't just get here by miraculous whatever. I do believe that there is a higher creation because I've seen so many things happen. I refuse to call them miracles at this point. What I know is stranger things have happened. I've seen things be replaced and moved around, and I'm like, hold up. She's shifting realities now. It's to the point where I've recognized when I have these shifts because little things in my house are different. Or I'm like, I know I didn't put that there, but I'm pretty sure it was a reason it ended up there. What changed? And sometimes I find the answer, sometimes I don't. And that's okay because I noticed the shift in myself. That internal shift is what I need. And it's to the point where I could look at myself in the morning, hair looking crazy. And I'm like, good morning, gorgeous. I couldn't do that a year ago. I couldn't do that 2 years ago. And now as a mother, I tell my son, if I don't give a damn what nobody tell you, you go look in that mirror and you tell yourself you look good. I love you. He doesn't really get it yet, and that's okay. Repetition is key, babes. Repetition is key. He will eventually get it because it's one day he gonna go in that mirror. He gonna say, "Ooh, I love you," because my son think he fine. He know he fine, and that baby he go tell himself, "I look good, mom," and then got to put his cologne on. I'm building that boy up because it's necessary, but I also need him to build himself up. And to the point where I allow him to make certain decisions because he's the one that has to live with it, even at 5 years old. So what I'm going to say is choose something. But at the end of the day, you can fight me on this because I know how y'all like to tussle. What you say is true. Don't fight me. Listen to what I'm saying. Everything you think, feel, and believe is true. I don't care. Ain't no but or what. No. Everything that you think, feel, and believe is true. Do what you will with that information. But what I will say is, I do feel like this was necessary because we need representation first off. Second, I think that it's important to know that we can aspire for better and more. I manifested my home. I manifested my car. I manifested my son. I manifested my daycare. I've been talking about that since I was 11. And if you know me personally, that's a manifestation. Okay. I did all of those things and I had conviction. So I know I can do it going upward. But that is my time. I'm already at an hour. Guys, you got this, okay? You're going to be okay. But I want you to change your thoughts about yourself and how you perceive the world. Stop thinking everybody is out to get you. Change your thoughts. I don't give a damn what you're experiencing in this 3D reality. Change your thoughts. And it's going to take some time, but give yourself grace and patience and give yourself some compassion. Tell yourself that you're proud. Tell yourself that you love yourself. Work through that, okay? Till next time, I am a sip of abundance. Please, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Until next time, guys.